Okay. Good morning, I'm Fiona Young, I'm the Democratic Services Officer for this meeting. I've been asked to deal with agenda item 1, which is for the appointment of the chair. And I understand that Councillor Carr is going to chair this meeting. Is that agreed, members?
Okay. Thank you, members. Welcome, everyone, members, officers, and those watching. The independent person, Alex Oram, will also be in attendance by remote means. At this point, I would like to formally record the panel's thanks also to David Laverick, who is an independent person, has offered his support to this point, but is not able to be present at this meeting today. Agenda item 2, can I ask if members have any interest they wish to declare? Okay, thank you for that. Agenda item 3 is the exclusion of the press and public, where the panel will consider whether to exclude the press and public at any point during this hearing. In reaching this decision, the panel will consider the views of the parties as expressed in their pre-hearing checklists, the pre-hearing procedure currently in place, and will also take into account the contents of the investigation reports prepared in this matter. The monitoring officer and the deputy monitoring officer may wish to address the panel in respect of this agenda item, and I would ask them if they wish to speak at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Janie Berry. I'm the Monitoring Officer for the City of York Council. Chair, it is recommended that the hearing is not open to the press and public on this occasion due to the likelihood that material relating to individuals other than the subject members of this meeting being disclosed. In general, however, the hearing panel should always ensure that the complaints are handled properly, and if it becomes evident that the hearing can continue in a public forum without the risk of disclosing material relating to individuals, a decision should be made at that point to lift the exclusion of the press and public for the hearing to continue in public. Further, it is recommended that the panel resolve to exclude the press and public from the meeting during the panel's deliberations and decision-making at the end of the hearing. In addition, should the panel wish to receive or consider legal advice, then such advice will be given in private. However, the substance of the advice will normally be shared with the parties present today. The panel's decision notice will, however, be a public document and will be published following conclusion of the hearing. So just to confirm, Chair, the recommendation is as follows: that the press and public be excluded from the hearing, including the deliberations and decision-making at the end of the hearing, because such deliberations and decision-making are required to be a hearing in private and should not take place in public. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Monitoring Officer, for that reasoning. Do members agree and so resolve? Thank you. That is carried then, and this hearing will be held in private. Right, welcome everyone to this resumed hearing panel. The hearing panel has considered the allegations in light of the Joint Standards Committee published criteria for the assessment of complaints And we find the following: evidence and finding of fact. During the period in question relating to these complaints, Skelton Parish Council was facilitating its meetings via remote means as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Councillor J. Watt is the chair of Skelton Parish Council. Councillor J. Watt had previously made a complaint in relation to Councillor A. Mansell. However, this was concluded in July 2020, which was not upheld, and the panel did not consider any information or representations arising from this complaint. Mrs. Mansell was a former member of Skelton Parish Council, and during the hearing it was confirmed that Mrs. Mansell was co-opted to Skelton Parish Council in October 2021. The panel was concerned with complaints initially submitted by Councillor A. Mansell and Mrs. Mansell in December 2020 in relation to Councillor J. Watt, followed by a complaint submitted by Councillor J. Watt on 31st of January 2021 in relation to Councillor A. Mansell, and finally two further complaints submitted in April 2021 by Councillor A. Mansell and Mrs. Mansell in relation to Councillor J. Watt. The monitoring officer instructed two investigating officers to consider the respective complaints. During October and November 2020, a succession of vacancies arose on Skelton Parish Council, and Mrs. Mansell submitted successive applications to the clerk for the Parish Council to consider her co-option at meetings on the 22nd of October 2020 and the 26th of November 2020. On each occasion, Mrs. Mansell's application to be co-opted onto Skelton Parish Council was either not formally addressed, or when it was considered she was unsuccessful. In October 2020, there were two candidates who put themselves forward. Mrs. Mansell was unsuccessful following a vote. Councillor A. Mansell and Mrs. Mansell have complained that Councillor J. Watt has been disrespectful and intimidatory in his behaviour at meetings, and that he has improperly conferred a disadvantage on Mrs. Mansell via his oversight of her applications to be co-opted to the Skelton Parish Council. On 31st of January 2021, Councillor J. Watt submitted a complaint that Councillor A. Mansell has been disruptive in meetings and has extended his inappropriate behaviour to others appointed to and/or closely involved with Skelton Parish Council. On the 26th of November 2020, Councillor J. Watt and Skelton Parish Council addressed Mrs. Mansell's application to be co-opted in a private meeting with the exclusion of the press and public. The panel noted that Councillor J. Watt and Councillor A. Mansell had attended training by Yorkshire Local Councils Association on the 17th of February 2021. That training was entitled Council Vacancies, Filling Ordinary and Casual Vacancies. As a result, Councillor J. Watt advised Skelton Parish Council at its meeting on the 25th of February 2021 that the procedures for co-option to Skelton Parish Council had not been correctly followed. However, it was not until October 2021 that Mrs. Mansell's application for co-option was resolved. The panel took time to hear from Councillor A. Mansell, Mrs. Mansell and Councillor J. Watt. These are the panel's conclusions. The panel were concerned with regards to the heightened levels of animosity between Councillor A. Mansell and Mrs. Mansell and Councillor J. Watt, and that these also extended to matters beyond the scope of these complaints. Whilst it's recognised that there is an acceptable degree of political freedom of speech during council meetings, the panel do accept the findings of the investigating officer and uphold the complaint that Councillor J. Watt was disrespectful towards Councillor A. Mansell during the meeting on the 26th of November 2020. The panel note that Councillor J. Watt did admit to this during the investigation. The panel do not uphold any allegations of bullying or intimidatory behaviour by Councillor J. Watt towards Councillor A. Mansell. As regards the co-option of Mrs. Mansell to Skelton Parish Council, the panel has considered the finely balanced role of Councillor J. Watt in his capacity as Chair of Skelton Parish Council and the decision-making role held by Skelton Parish Council as a whole. The panel has heard that Councillor J. Watt did attend the YLCA seminar on the 17th of February 2021 entitled Council Vacancies, Filling Ordinary and Casual Vacancies. And the panel is satisfied that from that date forward, Councillor J. Watt was aware of the correct legal process to manage a co-option issue. However, the issue is whether Councillor J. Watt acted in good faith or whether he improperly influenced the parish council as a whole to delay or dissuade a decision as to whether or not Mrs. Mansell should be co-opted. On balance, the panel is not satisfied that there is sufficient evidence to uphold a complaint against Councillor J. Watt, as it is noted that the decision to delay was ultimately one for Skelton Parish Council and not for Councillor J. Watt as an individual. However, the panel was concerned by the following. Councillor J. Watt's statement that, quotes, "I directed the council," end quotes. Councillor J. Watt's assertion that he was waiting for the outcome of the Code of Conduct complaint. The panel did not accept this as a legitimate reason for delay. Councillor J. Watt's concerns about the information received from the YLCA seminar, though he was unable to confirm whether or not the clerk had been instructed to obtain further clarity from YLCA. Councillor J. Watt indicating that he was waiting for another potential candidate. And finally, that there was a significant period of time between Councillor J. Watt and Skelton Parish Council being aware of the process in February 2021 and Mrs. Mansell's co-option in October 2021 and noted an absence of reasoned explanation for this. The panel did not uphold the remaining complaints. I now invite representations from the parties as to what sanction, if any, should be imposed. Each party will have 3 minutes, please note 3 minutes, to make their representations, and I will hear from the parties in the following order. The 2 investigating officers, Councillor Mansell, Mrs. Mansell, and Councillor Watt. So if you can go first, please.
In my investigatory report, I addressed with Councillor Watt whether he'd be prepared to make an apology at the time, and he did say to me at the time that he was not prepared to make an apology for the comments that he made. Whether Councillor Watt would like to revisit his position on that, but that would seem to me to be appropriate. Thank you.
Is that it? You finished? Yes. Okay, thank you, Faye. Dan, would you like to comment next, please?
In terms of possible sanctions or way forward, I've got nothing further to add other than what my colleague has said, that if the parties can agree on working together, a way forward in terms of working together to ensure smooth operation of the council and for apologies to be made where necessary, then I don't think anything else further is required.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor A. Mansell, Councillor Mansell.
Yes, Chair. All the way through this, I've maintained that I didn't want to be here, but my main reason for it was that I was publicly insulted in a meeting. Now, if Councillor Watt had at the time diffused the situation and come and either privately or publicly said to me, I'm sorry about what I said, but that would have been it. We wouldn't have been here, right? And that's the whole bottom line of it, is that no apology has been made. And I feel that a public apology to me for calling me a racist and a bigot is the minimum that should happen.
Thank you, Councillor Mansell. Mrs. Mansell.
I've listened to what you said, but I too have not received any sort of sympathy or apology from Councillor Chairman Joe Watts. It's not been good what I've gone through. You know, I've suffered ill health because of it, because I have worked hard towards our village, always. I worked hard when I was with this council, I worked with them, and I work hard with the village trust. I don't deserve to have had my reputation dragged through a public meeting saying that he knows something about me, but he's not prepared to say what it is. So that's left a lot of conjuncture for people in the village, which they do, to gossip. And now I've got to, you know, it's all right to go on about his own reputation, but he wasn't bothered about my reputation. And I can't see any way forward at the moment because of what he did to me. As much as I'd probably like to, can't.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Watt.
Chair, I was subjected to a tirade of public abuse from Councillor Adrian Mansell in January 2020. It's followed up by a very similar tirade of abuse from Linda Mansell at our meeting at the Open Forum in February 2020. The situation with the asylum seekers at the hotel came up when I was again subject to considerable abuse from Adrian Mansell, called things like weak, ineffective and subservient to the City of York Council and not representing the people of Skelton, and my efforts along with multi-agencies involving the City of York Council, MESMAC, the police and our MP with regards to the A19 lay-by. He just casually dismissed all that as half-hearted and accused me of being out of touch with the people of Skelton. All that went into my complaint of July 2020, which I feel the monitoring officer and our staff let me down badly by not only failing to uphold my complaint, but almost encouraging me to think that using the words I did were acceptable. And when once again, Councillor Adrian Mansell intervened inappropriately in a meeting to say he had a point of order, which immediately descended into a tirade of abuse against me once again, then I came out of my vituperation, felt encouraged to do so by the CYC. I sit here wondering why Linda Mansell goes on about how hurt she is. I can fully understand why she should be hurt, and I know she has some difficulties at times coping with such things. I understand that, but I'm no mountain myself. I have feelings too, and I just feel I've been subject to 2 years of abuse. Sadly, I don't feel I've always been supported by the parish council. And if I may give you an example.
30 seconds, Councillor Wald.
All right, in September 2021, at our meeting, he called me a liar in public about 12 times and read out Janie Berry's confidential email about me saying this matter had been resolved, we've moved forward. It isn't resolved because we're here now. Against that background, I will not make any apologies, but I have totally lost faith in the City of York Council and the whole local democracy and the maintaining of standards and protecting people like me who've been committed. Therefore, it is extremely likely that at our next meeting later this month that I shall stand down as chairman and parish councillor.
I'm going to have to stop you there,
Okay.
Councillor Watt. I've been fairly generous with the time. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to stop you. Right. So we need to withdraw again, panel, to consider the decision and potential sanction. So, monitoring officer, do we stay in this room or?
Yes, Chair, we stay in this room. Could I ask everybody else just to stand outside for a few moments? Thank you. Ollie, can you stop?
We're back on. Yes, thank you. Okay. Thank you for reconvening, everyone. This is the section where we consider the sanctions. The panel has sat and deliberated on those, and these are our conclusions. It is recommended that Skelton Parish Council passes a motion of censure that Councillor J. Watt has acted in a disrespectful manner to Councillor A. Mansell and has declined to offer an apology. Recognising that Skelton Parish Council historically failed to address the co-option process correctly, training is recommended and that Councillor J. Watt is actively encouraged to participate in the work to be undertaken to address governance issues as a result. We further have observations that, whilst not upheld, the panel believes that the Skelton Parish Council should address its attitude towards its clerk to ensure she or he is fully supported and resourced. From the evidence obtained during the investigation and from the hearing, it is evident that there are underlying issues involving long-standing personal conflict and poor working relations between certain elected members and the clerk. In addition, the panel has detected a less than full understanding on both sides of the norms for officer-member relations and their respective powers and responsibilities. The panel is conscious of the need to seek to resolve the difficulties with which the parish council is currently faced in a constructive manner for the benefit of the local community. There are concerns by all parties involved in this investigation about how this matter might impact on the ability of the parish council to function in the future. The panel believes that unless constructive action is taken, complaints are likely to continue to be made, both against the members of the council and the clerk. And as these problems are potentially affecting the council as a whole, it appears most appropriate that all members and officers are involved in their resolution. It is the panel's view that the council should consider funding and implementing an action plan to address the concerns identified. This should involve making any necessary training, conciliation and mentoring available to all council members and officers. In the panel's view, the process should include the appointment of an independent person or consultancy or YLCA member to review the council's processes and procedures. Ensuring the role of the clerk is fully understood and supported and that sufficient time and resource is made available to them to effectively carry out their role to the correct standards expected. The training and mentoring of officers and councillors to identify and rectify any weakness in the understanding of the parish council's procedures and the code. Training and guidance on conflict resolution with a view to improving working relationships between elected members and council clerk through more effective communication and improved conduct. As part of this process, we would recommend that all parties work together on a member officer protocol that establishes and ingrains agreed parameters into the working of the council. The parish council should consider the adoption of the local government association model of code of conduct. It is hoped by implementing this action plan, any personal conflicts will be resolved acceptable standards of behaviour will be established and the council will run in a proper manner that will command the respect of the community. Thank you everyone for attending. That now brings the hearing to a close. Thank you once more. Thank you.